I'm Roy, your friendly neighborhood East Coast aviator. I've had a passion for airplanes and adventure for as long as I can remember. Join me as I work towards my private pilot license and the stories that unfold along the way, embracing the chaos, one knot at a time. Top of the day, my friends. Your friendly neighborhood East Coast aviator here. Today we're going to talk about something a little different. Well, not really. So essentially, you have before every flight and on every flight, you would have the following. Your headset, your knee board, current VNC chart, logbook, your CX3, and these are very important bits of information. In fact, when you start off as a private pilot student, you will learn how to fly using a chart, and you will learn to spot landmarks and learn the proper ways to fly under visual flight rules. So as you progress, you're going to want to get into the EFBs, or electronic flight bag applications. There are quite a few on the market. Now, I will say that personally, I am a Android guy. I really am not interested per se in jumping into the iPad, iOS ecosystem, but I'm going to try to be unbiased here. There's plenty of tutorials you can find, guys, on these applications, and there's certainly more than these ones, but these ones to me are the three big heavy hitters in the field, so certainly worth things to consider. So first up, we have FltPlan Go. Now, FltPlan Go is kind of the starter EFB. It's good for training, it's saving money. If you are chasing pro level performance, you might bump into its limitations. There's some pros and cons to it. I mean, it's free. So obviously, free is the most budget-friendly option you can get. So it makes it accessible for students or pilots who just don't want to pay the $100, $200 plus for the big guys. Now, it does offer some pretty solid offline capabilities. You can download maps, charts, and other documents. Well, I'll show a little demonstration of the app here in a second. It's integrated with the FltPlan.com, so it syncs with their website. You can handle flight planning, nav logs, briefings. It does support ADS-B weather support. It works with compatible hardware. So like if you have a Garmin ADS-B receiver, it will absolutely work. Now, on the con side, it is a bit more clunky from the interface than some of the others that we'll talk about. It's not bad, but it's not as polished. It is capable, but it does lack some high-end performance tools and features that you'll get in the more expensive paid apps. And it is definitely dependent on third-party hardware. To get your full weather, traffic, and whatnot, you need proper gear. So here's your basic interface. Hopefully this turns out. So you get information on your airports. So you get your information. See what the current fuel rates are, for example. You can see what frequencies are in use. You can view the runways, gives you details on, each runway. You can then go to airport diagram, and you can actually get the diagram for the airport with all the necessary information. Now, maps, pretty self-explanatory. It's your basic VNC chart. You can do some neat things on this. It does have a neat little measuring tool, for example. So if you want to see, point A to point B, you can, do that. It has a stopwatch, so you can, set timers and keep track of your time. Multiple layers, online and offline, allow you to kind of customize it. What information do you want to see on the map? Pretty standard stuff there, to be honest. It's pretty good, for this. I happen to like this one quite a bit. Nav logs doesn't really apply. I don't have anything in there. Checklists. I don't have any checklists in this application here, but if you had checklists for your plane, you can download and view them easily from there. You also have documents that you can download, and this is a nice feature. I really like this. In fact, there's some paid applications that don't have that on Android. And, you can get things like the, I don't know, if you want to see the chart abbreviations. There's your chart abbreviations, or the, Canada Flight Supplement, or the AIM manual, things like that. Weather, pretty straightforward. You type in your ID, so we'll just say there's your weather briefing. Now, you can also get that from the airports field. You can see your METAR and whatnot there. So you get a couple of places you can get the information. You can do tracking. If you have, an aircraft entered in there. There's also some tools here. So calculate, your cloud tops, a numeric calculator for Celsius to Fahrenheit, pressure, winds, and conversions, and so on. And of course, it's got a scratch pad that you can use. So it's pretty straightforward. The thing I do notice about it, it does have a tendency sometimes to break during updates. Usually to fix that, you have to, clear all the data, refresh it. So sometimes the data gets corrupt, but not the end of the world. So, for a pilot on a budget, this is the way to go, in my opinion. This is one that I don't think I plan to ever really delete. It's handy if for no other purpose to practice, but the maps, I do like the fact that I can, you can put in your routes, to and from. So you start, there to there, and you enter it in. It's the same idea as your big guys, just completely free. Next up is Garmin Pilot. Now this one I do like a lot, but there are some caveats that we'll get into. So a couple of the pros on this one. Obviously, if you've got a Garmin equipped aircraft, this thing syncs, smooth as can be with the avionics from Garmin. It also syncs with other ones, but obviously being made by Garmin, it's going to be best suited for the Garmin infrastructure. They've introduced something called Smart Charts, which simplifies the plate display and highlights the relevant data. Makes it a little more high intuitive. Tons of great feedback I've seen on that. It is good on multiple platforms. Now, like FltPlan Go, it does run on iOS and Android. Has tons of features. Your VFR and IFR charts, logbook, flight planning, weight and balance checklists, a ton of stuff. We'll go through some of it here. Now, as far as the negatives, unfortunately, for some reason, the Android version lags behind iOS as far as some features. So we mentioned in the FltPlan Go, they had a section that you can store some useful documents. The Android version of Garmin Pilot doesn't have that, while the iOS version does. So I'm really hoping they, catch up to that at some point. But honestly, it's been quite a while. So I think that there is a trade-off. If you're like me and strictly preferring Android, this is the best paid option in my opinion. And we'll just go through some of the reasons why. Now, you can set all kinds of information, obviously your general, you can put your information about your aircraft. You can even link this, and I forgot to mention this on the other one, but this also links up to the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Kind of goes back to our previous video where we talked about flight sims as useful training kind of tool. You can link this up and practice real world, scenarios and activity. So you can go into your map. Obviously, map wouldn't be much of an application if it didn't have that. So you get your map, your weather layers. It's pretty cloudy, as you can, maybe see by all the gray. I do have the weather layer turned on. You can turn that off, completely customize how you want this thing to actually look. So, maps, very straightforward kind of thing. You're going to get, a quality map out of pretty much all of these applications, in my opinion. You can do your flight plans from this. Again, the whole point of this is to make your life in the cockpit easier. So you have that option to file your flight plans there. You get add your trip information. Obviously, you've got airports. So, here's your airport. It's got the fuel pretty easily to see. You can see your METARs. You can go to your charts, see the various charts for what you need. You can view your runway data. I do like the fact that it does give you a bit of a graphical representation there. It even makes a suggestion here. So, for example, if you're taking off from, runway 32, it's the best way to go due to the wind. So that's in your, decision making. Obviously, you choose the best runway for the wind considerations when you are taking off. It does give you the information for the FBOs. You've got your weather. If there's any NOTAMs, you've got the information on that. So again, that's a pretty straightforward kind of a feature. Again, I happen to really like this. My biggest beef with it personally is the fact that it's missing some features that the other one has. We do have a dedicated charts binder, so you can access your charts that way and kind of go from there. You do have other things, so you've still got a scratch pad. You do have traffic. I don't have the GPS, the traffic device connected in, but this would show you your local traffic, much like ForeFlight does. Synthetic vision, that is pretty cool and handy, depending on what equipment you have for that. You still have the option for your logbooks, your weight and balance. I haven't entered anything into the logbook as of yet. I'm still in the evaluation of this. I felt there was no point in entering all that info if I'm not necessarily going to go with this, but I am kind of leaning towards it. Your checklists, I really like the checklists on this thing. So, as an example, if we want the, your pre-flight inspection. Okay, well, there you go. So for a Cessna 172N, which is the plane that I have primarily trained in thus far, you just go in and you select them as you go. Okay, you verify that the ignition switch is off. Avionics power switch is off, master switch is on, and so on and so forth. And you just go through until you're done, and you check next item, and it moves on to the next checklist. And you've got it all. So you've got your takeoff, checklists, so on and so forth. So the checklists I really, really like on this one. And then you can change things around. It does have a stopwatch. You can still take measurements on your map from, point A to point B. So I can tap, you can tap an area and get the information out of the map. So if we kind of zoom in a bit here, it is very cloudy here. I'll use this as an example, I guess. So select that. You can get some information on the airspace. That's very useful, in my opinion. And you got, direct to routes, and if there's, WX information available. All the information you could want is available in this application. Again, it is kind of the number 2 app, in my opinion, out there as far as paid apps. Now, one caveat with this, and the next app we'll talk about, is obviously those come with subscription costs. That can get pricey. It depends on your personal needs. So I would definitely recommend, doing a little bit of homework, checking in, seeing what those costs are, and, decide. The whole point of this video, guys, is not so much to tell you, well, hey, you got to use this because this is what I use. Okay, well, I know the ones that I use currently and what I will potentially use in the future, but, this isn't a herd mentality thing, my friends. It's here's some information for you. You have more homework to do as far as what is best for you. Now, in the case of Garmin Pilot, you can do a trial. They do offer a 30-day trial, I believe. So it gives you time to try it, see if you like it, and then you can decide from there as far as what you want to do. So definitely a step up. Some people find the weather briefs aren't as comprehensive as our next guy. Now, our next guy is going to be ForeFlight. So I'll get some images on the screen here, guys, because honestly, I don't have an iPad. Again, I'm not an iOS user. But ForeFlight is the number 1 app for a lot of pilots, private and professional. To me, a limitation is it is iOS only. So we'll start with the cons. It has some higher tiers and advanced features in the subscriptions, so the cost can be more than Garmin Pilot or some others. Some of the more advanced features, such as synthetic vision, performance planning, take some time to get used to. And running a full-featured EFB like ForeFlight or Garmin Pilot, for that matter, you can suffer some battery drain. So you do want to make sure you have power sources available to keep your devices running. And some of the powerful tools are behind the paywalls, behind the top tier plans. It can be frustrating for some people. Honestly, a good percentage of the new features are only available in the top tier, and that's quite a bit of money. So, again, pros and cons. Now, as far as the pros, honestly, ForeFlight is number 1 in the market for a reason. It's a frickin' powerhouse. You can do your flight planning, weather, charts, logbook, weight and balance, performance. Very complete. Like Garmin Pilot, I feel it has a very polished interface. Now, personally, I've only had my hands on it briefly. I don't have a lot of deep experience, but that was my initial impression. Very polished. It does have strong weather tools with real-time overlays, radar, turbulence forecasts, icing, and so on. It does have global support, which is nice. So including the Jepson charts. Good performance for cross-country or business use. It does sync well with avionics and ADSB. So you get your situational awareness and your integration with the hardware that you have, whether it's Garmin or Aviation or whatever your device is. But it is the one that a lot of people will navigate to. It doesn't mean that it's the only option there. To be fair, there's other options out there. I have friends that will only use FltPlan Go. pilots that will only use ForeFlight. A lot more will use ForeFlight. Honestly, the biggest limitation for me is the iOS thing. I can't, I don't feel like buying a personal device just for that. But if that's what you want to do, it's certainly something to look at and to consider. And you can do the same kind of things that you can do in all the other guys. You can file your flight plans, you can view your charts, your weather. It's all there, it's all at your fingertips. And these types of applications are a godsend. It's very useful to be able to pull up a chart instead of messing with your, sectional chart in the cockpit. You have easy access to them in the cockpit on the tablet. But, I will say it is important not to get too reliant on these things. Every application, whether it be ForeFlight, FltPlan Go, Garmin, whatever the other guys are, and there are definitely others, don't get me wrong, I'm not excluding other ones, but at the end of the day, you need to know how to do it the hard way, but these things allow for the ultimate inconvenience. So I hope that kind of gives you guys an idea of what to go. Honestly, guys, if I was into the iOS ecosystem, I would probably go into ForeFlight just because, it reigns supreme for a reason. But if you're looking at the Android ecosystem, which is kind of where I'm, happiest to be, Garmin Pilot or FltPlan Go are the way to go, just based on the features they offer, the amount of, stuff you can do with it. It's quality of life stuff, and, you need to spend more time enjoying your flights and less time, stressing out about things. The access to the checklists right in front of you, no more digging, for a checklist. You can customize all this stuff. And so it's definitely things to do. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. If you've got experience with any of these, especially the ForeFlight guys, because I don't have as much experience with that, just, drop a comment below. Let me know what your experience are. Did I forget one? Was there a better option that we really should have talked about? Show me the option. Tell me the other options. Show me what other things you guys are using. There's some other apps here that you can look at as well, just as a kind of a, just before we end this here. There's a few apps that I have in addition to these things. So, like there's an app on here I have called Windy, and I like that one a lot just because it does give you a pretty good It gives you a good graphical indication of what the wind is. You can, as you touch certain spots, it'll tell you what the wind are and the knots. It'll give you the forecast. Information is power, my friends. So, things like that. I have AviaWeather, same kind of idea. It's a very straightforward weather application. And it gives you the weather in plain English, which can be helpful at a glance, but obviously you need to know how to deal with your NOTAMs and TAF and all that stuff. So, yeah, just a couple of, extra things here. Pilot Toolkit is kind of a neat one. I find, it's a bit of an older one here, get a bunch of errors, but it does give you some ideas as far as flight planning, how to flight plan navigation, and so on and so forth. So really, those are just extras. The main ones you want to look into, it's the EFBs that you really want to focus on. Anything extra is just extra, and that's just gravy. Hopefully you found the video informative, guys. It is a topic of very much debate online. It's typically between those three as the options. So, do some research. I will include the links below to the various manufacturers' websites so you can get information on pricing, look at the plans, sign up for any free trials that are there. I definitely recommend, downloading and trying them. That's really the best way to find the one that's best for you. What's best for me isn't necessarily what's best for you. So give them a shot. Hope you find it good. If you have experience with these applications, did I miss a feature? Hit on the comments below. Let me know what I may have missed. Is there another app out there that I missed? There's certainly plenty of other options. There's something that people should know about. Again, post in the comments below. Let's chat about it. Let's see what other stuff is there. So until next time, stay safe, have fun. For our American friends who are about to celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, full of all the fixings and all the good stuff. And we'll catch you in the next one. So embrace the chaos, one knot at a time.